So welcome to this meeting of the Board of Education in Anne Arundel County. This meeting is being televised live on AACPS TV and streamed on AACPS's YouTube channel. General information and protocols for the meeting are posted on the sign by the doorway as you enter the room. So please make sure that you read those if you have not already done so. At this time, it is time for our invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all education policies. Being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So before we move forward at this time, it is really my pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to Troop 454 of Davidsonville. Where are you? Where are you? You guys can stand. Come on, stand so we can see you. We'd like to welcome all of you, and we thank you for coming to visit us here at the boardroom in Anne Arundel County Board of Education. Thank you so much. So now, we're moving on to item 2.03, the approval of our minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have consensus? It appears that we do. Thank you. Item 2.04, establishing our agenda order. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve agenda as established.
Second.
I hear a motion and a second. Do we have consensus? And we do. So at this time, we're going to be moving on to item 3.0, public hearing. Dr. Bedell.
I don't think that's me.
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to have a public hearing on the superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2027 capital budget and 6-year capital improvement plan. And do we have folks here to be testifying this evening? We have 2. Okay. See, it's Mr. Morgan and Mr. Sullivan. Okay. Actually, I thought they were. Okay. Okay, folks, here we go. So this is one of the opportunities that the board provides to hear the views and receive the advice of community members. The members of this board appreciate hearing from interested citizens. As appropriate, we will refer your concerns to the superintendent for follow-up by his staff. While we encourage public input on policies, programs, and practices within the purview of this board and the school system, this is not the proper forum to address specific student or employee matters or to comment on matters that do not relate to public education. I remind everyone that inappropriate personnel remarks or other behavior that disrupts or interferes with the conduct of this meeting are out of order. Persons who are otherwise disrupt or disturb this meeting will not be allowed to continue. It is not the board's general practice to engage in question and answer sessions with speakers. For the record, please give your name before speaking. Handouts should be given to the board assistant. We ask that speakers observe our 2-minute clock. A yellow light will shine when you have 30 seconds remaining, and a tone will sound when your time has expired. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the tone. If you continue after your time has expired, the mic will be turned off. It could also be turned off if a speaker addresses specific student or employee matters or are commenting on matters not related to public education in Anne Arundel County. Okay. You're Mr. Morgan? Oh, well, this is the time when we're having a public hearing on our fiscal year 2027 capital budget. So anybody that's here to speak on the 2027 capital budget and 6-year improvement plan, come on down. Come on down.
Thank you to the members of the Board of Education and Dr. Bedell. My name is Grayson Morgan. I'm a parent of a Davidsonville elementary school student and a South River High School student. I just want to say that the school district is awesome. But as a parent, we are always looking for opportunities to improve. And my particular issue related to the capital budget, I've noticed that there's projections for $2 million to be spent on health and safety in the outgoing years. It has been my unfortunate experience for the last 10 months to identify safety issues, not just within the South River feeder, but around Anne Arundel County's public school system related to traffic and pedestrian safety on school property. I have photographed and sent to the employees, principals, staff members of Anne Arundel County Public Schools dozens of incidents of reckless driving around South River High School. Students, bus drivers, parents driving the wrong way at high speeds in traffic waiting for the light on Central to turn. Crossing crosswalks in order to get to the parking area at the front of the school. I noticed this when I drop off my daughter from the Cat River South parking lot to walk along that sidewalk, and I fear for her safety. I have reported this for over 10 months. Just this week, I took another picture of a student, probably with a recent learning permit, driving 40 miles an hour down that road, passing about 30 cars to cut through that parking lot so as not to be late for school. I would like some action to be taken, and I cannot see in the budget where that is happening. I have asked for information about correcting these procedures from Dr. Heiser and received no response in 10 months. And only 3 crosswalks have been painted of the over 20 that I have reported in the South River feeder in 10 months. This is unsatisfactory and puts our children and people who visit our school facilities at risk. I would like you, the board members, to ask Dr. Heiser to explain why the safety program is so poorly managed and information cannot be provided, and issues which, and I quote,
Please summarize.
unsafe conditions that could cause serious injury and significant property damage are not prioritized for time and mitigated in a timely manner. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. We have one other speaker signed up. This Dennis Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan? Okay, I do not see Mr. Sullivan this evening at this point in time. So, ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude this portion. We're going to be moving on in terms of our public comments, item 4.0. We do not have any other individuals to speak on agenda items. So we're going to move on to our report section. Item 5.0, our CRASC report. Good evening.
Good evening, President Silkworth, Vice President Dent, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. My name is Jason Semenoff Jr. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a proud sophomore at Chesapeake High School, and I'm honored to serve as the CRASC Secretary of Education. CRASC kicked off this school year with its first virtual town hall on September 3rd, where students discussed key topics including phone and bathroom policies, as well as grading on Canvas. On September 10th, the executive team gathered for its first in-person meeting of the year. Members of the executive team received parliamentary procedure training led by our parliamentarians Jack Warwick and David Herrera, and participated in meaningful service projects for creating cards for veterans. CRASC is excited to host the MASC Workshop Presenter Certification Training this Saturday at Severn Run High School. This certification is required for MASC members who wish to present at upcoming fall and winter conferences, as well as at the spring convention. A special thank you goes to Tim Brown, SGA advisor at Severn Run, for welcoming and supporting 124 students at this full-day training event. MASC will host a student member of the board informational webinar on October 7th at 7 p.m. High school sophomores and juniors interested in applying for the Maryland State Student Member of the Board position can access the application on CRASC's Canvas page and website. The nomination window will be open from November 1st through November 17th. Attention seniors! The Maryland General Assembly PAGE program offers students a unique opportunity to experience the legislative process by serving for 2 weeks during the 13-week session, held January 14th through April 13th. For more details, please contact your social studies teacher or visit the CRASC website. Applications are due by Friday, October 3rd at 4 p.m. Lastly, the United States Senate Youth Program, or USSYP, provides students interested in public service with a unique opportunity to engage in policy discussions with U.S. senators, cabinet members, and senior officials from the Department of State and Defense. Each year, 2 students are selected from every state, the District of Columbia, and the Department of Defense education activity. Nomination requirements and the application process are available on the CRASC website. Applications for that are due October 9th. There are so many ways to get involved with AACPS student leadership. If you're interested in joining the CRASC Constitution Revisions Committee, meetings are held Mondays at 8 p.m. to review updates to the SMOB election process, including the addition of a nominating convention this year. Be sure to check out the slide for upcoming events. The 2025-2026 school year is already off to a fantastic start, and we can't wait for everything ahead, especially homecoming. That's all from me. See you next month.
Thank you so much. We're now going to be moving on to item 5.02, our CAC report.
Good evening, board members. Dr. Bedell, my name is Michelle Cowell. I am the current Citizen Advisory Committee chair for this year. I'll be calling it CAC and CAC. We're just kicking off our year, so I don't have a lot to report. I thought I'd take a minute to just talk a little bit about what the CAC does for those that may not be familiar with it. This summer, we had 68 applicants for 15 open positions. So the board appointed and filled those positions. So the CAC is up on the screen right now. You can't really see, I had the new members highlighted, but that's okay. Just to talk about its structure a little bit, we have 2 representatives from each of the 14 high school clusters. We have 2 at-large members, one member that represents our military families, 2 members that come from other committees, so the Council of PTAs and then the Special Education CAC. So they sit with us at our meetings and give input. I had an opportunity to meet the new members as well as engage with the former members. I have to say that we have such a breadth of expertise on this committee. We have educators, social workers, mental health counselors, people who are running nonprofits, small businesses, cybersecurity experts. I mean, it's going to be a really great year. I'm really humbled to work with these people next year. So we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so within the CAC, we have the typical positions of chair, vice chair, and secretary. So they were elected last year. I just wanted to give a shout out to Jennifer Lombardi. She is our liaison with the board. She keeps us straight and makes sure that we're doing your work and also answers every question we have. And there are a lot of questions. There are some special positions within the CAC that are volunteer. We elect people to those positions when there is more than one interested. I won't go through them all, but we are in the process of filling them. So for example, the Board of Education Policy Committee, we have a person from the CAC that sits with them, brings information back to us, and hopefully participates with you. So that's it for that one. So I've been on the CAC or the CAC for 4 years. This is sort of my take, but I do know that we are an advisory group to the Board of Education. So the Board of Education sets the priorities and the policies we're going to talk about for the year. And what typically happens is we educate ourselves. So the school system will often provide us with an outside expert or an expert from the school system to talk to us about the subject or the history of the policy. We'll do our own research. We have some folks very good at that. Look at other counties nationwide, research the subject. And then the most important part is structured discussion. So when we meet, we talk, we bring our perspectives to the overall conversation. My goal for this year is to try to continue to get every voice into that mix. And we're using Google Forms and other ways to bring in voices that maybe are a little quiet at meetings. So and then we try to pull together a report and give it to the board, document what we've talked about so that it can inform your decisions. So just a quick list of some of the policies we've looked at. You can see a broad range of topics from student transportation to health to academics and grading. So the CAC has been a really interesting volunteer opportunity. So I'll be quiet now. I'll end with just the meeting dates we have for this year. I appreciate your time and look forward to coming back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item 5.03, our budget report, Dr. Tobin.
Thank you. The Budget Committee met on Monday, and we had a discussion which included an update from Mr. Stansky on federal funding and the implications moving forward, and also discussed and consolidated a list of board priorities that the board will be discussing and voting on, I hope, tonight for budget for this upcoming budget cycle, so that we can communicate to the superintendent and his staff what those priorities are. We received some wonderful responses from board members and tried to consolidate from that list those top priorities that multiple board members showed interest in. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tobin. We're moving on to item 5.04, President's Report. And so I do have a few things to report this evening. On September the 8th, we had the honor and the privilege of surprising Belgrove Elementary School English Language Development teacher, Jacqueline Sanderson, to celebrate her for being named one of our 7 finalists for the Maryland State Teacher of the Year. Ms. Sanderson, a National Board Certified English Language Development teacher, leads district-wide curriculum initiatives. She has launched programs that support multilingual students and strengthen school-family partnerships. It really was exciting to take a few minutes with the entire Belgrove staff and family just before students arrived and to congratulate Ms. Sanderson. We will all find out on Friday, September 26th, when we attend a Maryland State Gala. Hopes are high that Jacqueline will become the 6th annual Anne Arundel County Public Schools teacher to be named Maryland Teacher of the Year. And we certainly would like to wish best of luck to Jacqueline Sanderson, our AACPS Teacher of the Year. On Monday evening, September the 8th, I had the honor and privilege to attend the first meeting of the year for our Citizens Advisory Committee. We just had that report. The Citizens Advisory Committee executive panel is a structured group appointed by the Board of Education that provides advice to the board on specific issues impacting educational policy, activities, and programs. The chair for the CAC this year is Michelle Kuhl. The vice chair, I believe, is Nathan Victoria. And secretary is Talia Pike. I would like to thank the CAC officers and all the CAC members for their participation, their volunteerism, their dedication to our students. And I just have to tell you, I must admit that here in this county, Anne Arundel County, we are so lucky. Michelle, you talked about the expertise. I had the opportunity to meet and talk with many of the members of the CAC. What a wonderful and talented group of people, and why do they come to help us out? All of those young people over there, all of the students in this county. So my hat's off to you. We look forward to working with you. And we also we had to thank Miss Lombardi. Miss Lombardi, you are a star. She's our liaison to the CAC. She does a lot of other things, but that's one important thing that she does. So I applaud all of you so much. So on Tuesday, September the 9th, I had the honor to attend the first meeting this year of the Scholarship for Scholarships Board of Directors as they begin another year dedicated to providing scholarships to our students here in Anne Arundel County. I would like to thank Miss Pamela Van Diver. She's the Executive Director of the Scholarships for Scholars. And once again, another group that helps our students so much, and we are so very appreciative of the work that they do. They have provided thousands and thousands of dollars in scholarship money for Anne Arundel County students over the past years, and we are so lucky to have them. On Friday, the 12th of September, Anne Arundel County hosted the Maryland Statewide School Leadership Training Program. School leaders, superintendents, and board chairs from across the state came to AACPS for another training session, which was actually another great opportunity to work with our educators and our friends across the state. We were joined by Maryland State Superintendent Dr. Carrie Wright, as well as State Board of Education President Joshua Michael. And I had the opportunity to work alongside of Dr. Shannon Pugh and Dr. Bill Heiser, and of course, Dr. Mark Bedell. So that was a great event. On Monday night, September the 15th, the board held a public workshop on the fiscal year 27 capital budget recommendation presented by Dr. Bedell. Thanks to Dr. Heiser and to Kyle Roof and their team for the great presentation. We will hold a public hearing on Dr. Bedell's recommendation later in this meeting, and then, or actually, we tried to hold one a little bit earlier. And then we're going to vote on an initial adoption of the plan. And to conclude my report, I just want to make some comments regarding redistricting. Folks, redistricting means that some students will go to a different school. Having said that, I want to remind everyone of the remaining timeline for phase 2. Later in this meeting, the board will vote on which proposal or proposals to take to public hearing. On September 29th, 6 p.m., there will be a public briefing on a proposal or proposals. On October 13th, at 6 p.m., the board will conduct public hearings on a proposal or proposals to get more public input. And on November 19th, also at 6 p.m., the board will adopt a redistricting plan that will go into effect in August of 2026. And I'd like to close my remarks by saying redistricting means that some students will be required to attend different schools. So that does conclude the president's report this evening. And I'd like to recognize Ms. Bullock.
Thank you, President Silkworth. I just want to give a shout out to the 4-H and Southern FFA. This past weekend, they had the livestock auction at the fair. 47 students auctioned their animals. I was able to support, and Ms. McDermott was there as well. $119,000 was raised from the livestock auction. And so, yeah. The age ranges are
Can you repeat that amount? I need to hear that again.
Yeah, so the exact amount is $119,116. So thank you. I want to make sure we know that those students range from 8 years old all the way to 18. And specifically for the 4-H, it was our Southern FFA, it was roughly $34,000. I have to tell you, I'll just be real quick. These students, they take a class, they raise their animals, and then they auction them off. At that fair, they go and they talk to folks and tell them all about their animals and why you should buy them. So there's so many life skills that you learn, but more importantly, those kids are rock stars, and so are other students, and it's so nice to highlight them. So thank you, and congratulations, you guys.
Okay, we're going to be moving on to item 5.05, our superintendent's report. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start off by, again, thanking you all for being here tonight. I think you chose a really good night to come, and hopefully there are a lot of lessons you will be able to take away. I've had a chance to speak with one of the troops and kind of shared with me what they're working on and what badges they're looking to achieve as a result of being here. So it's always good to see you all in here getting a deeper understanding of what helps to move our community forward. I want to start my report by addressing a topic that is on the minds of many, and I want to deliver a clear message to our students, employees, families, and our entire community. Our job as a school district is to teach and support children, every single one of them. And while there are certainly places in that work for discourse about events of the day, including in a political context, I struggle to find any places where it is acceptable for our employees to weigh in on social media about tragedies such as assassinations and murders, except to offer sympathies to the victims of such acts and their families. More importantly, there is no place, anywhere, anytime, where it is acceptable for anyone to applaud or celebrate the death of someone. Nowhere. I've been very clear with everybody that I don't care about what political viewpoint you have. And I think that was a reason why this board made a decision to hire me in 2022. Because if you go back and look at my background, it didn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. I fought for what's right for all children. And here's what I've said to people. If you're interested in helping students develop socially, emotionally, and academically, then I'm happy to have a conversation with you about ways we can work together to do that. I've also been very clear that we're going to pursue student-centered agendas, not adult-centered agendas. That's just the way I've always worked and how I will continue to work. It's a big reason why I'm in my year 10 as a superintendent, when the average tenure of a superintendent is now less than 3 years. Social media pages have recently been filled with hateful, defamatory, derogatory, and insightful posts from those with all viewpoints. Some have come from our employees, but many from other sources. Those have made such posts represent the vast minority in our society, but their words cause harm and have two things in common. First, they are contrary to our mission, our policies, and protocols. Second, they dehumanize individuals or group of individuals. Failing to value people as human beings makes it easier to say the kind of things we see on social media and elsewhere. It helps nothing, and it's toxic. As I said in a message to our employees on Friday, we will take care of those internal issues in ways that are appropriate through the processes we have in place. But, and this is important, we only have our students in classrooms for about 19% of the hours in a week. To be exact, 19.3%. For the other 81%, they are in the care of families and communities in which they reside in. They're scrolling through social media in homes, ball fields, and throughout the community. So I need you all to do your part as well. I just do. It's easy to direct a ton of anger at the school district, but you can't blame 100% of the issues on the 19.3% of the time that we have students. It just doesn't work, and it's not fair. 3 years ago, last month, I sat in this chair in my first board meeting, and I talked about the disrespectful tone I had observed in comments over my first 2.5 weeks on the job. And I offered these thoughts. Tone matters. It just matters. And the tone of how people feel that they can speak to people, how they can put things in email or on social media that are unprofessional in tone, it's unacceptable. I also said this, healthy discourse is okay. It's what makes this a great country. And when you can't have that because you're being belittled, you're being spoken to like you're a peon or like you're a nobody, that is unacceptable. I still feel exactly that way. We should all feel that way. As I also wrote to our employees on Friday, we must all remain focused on our core mission, and that is to create a school community where every single one of our students can belong, grow, and succeed. We must all remember that our charge every day is to support the development of human beings in ways that help them to achieve their full potential. I'm not asking everyone to agree. Let's be very clear about that. But I am asking everyone to focus on discussion instead of division. Check your tone. Remember that our children are watching and learning from what we say and do as adults. And let's all work together moving forward to make this a better country and a better world. Now on to more celebratory things. I want to recognize that on Monday, we begin Hispanic Heritage Month, a time when we recognize the traditions, history, culture, and many contributions of Hispanic Americans to our society. As I have just said in my statement, we need to develop a sense of belonging in every single student we serve. Recognitions like this help to do that. Our communications division has some things planned throughout the next month, so be on the lookout for them. And continuing on the theme of inclusivity, 3 of our schools earned national awards today when they were named Unified Champion National Banner Schools by Special Olympics North America. The honors go to schools that cultivate climates of acceptance by providing inclusive sports and programs for students with and without intellectual disabilities. Congratulations to Arundel and Glen Burnie High School and to Old Mill Middle School South. Old Mill is the first middle school in Maryland to earn this honor. It's important to note that of the 19 national banner schools in Maryland, 12 are in our school district. 12 are in our school district. That speaks volumes to the work we are doing in this area, not just in athletics, but in our curriculum as well. As most people know, our school district moved to a new learning management system, Canvas, this year to give parents and guardians easier access to view their student assignments, grades, and class announcements. If you haven't yet created your AACPS Connect Parent account to access the Canvas Parent mobile app, I'm here to tell you that it is easy. It took me 5 minutes to do it. Please go to www.aacps.org/LMS for all details and videos in English and Spanish explaining exactly how to get everything set up. I want to thank our Governor Wes Moore for spending part of his morning on September 11th with our NJROTC cadets at Annapolis High School. The governor had the chance to work out with students, but more importantly, he took the opportunity to speak to them about service and sacrifice as they remembered the victims and heroes of the September 11, 2001 tragedies. We are always happy to host the governor at one of our schools, and I know our students got a lot out of this experience. Before I get to the last item about our school calendar, I want to talk about our vacancies. As you can see, this is something that we started again back in 2022, posting our vacancy rates. You can see at where we are with our teacher vacancies. We have nearly 5,900 teachers. We have 30 vacancies at this juncture. Keep in mind, we did add 30 additional vacancies in our budget that was approved to add the additional enhancements in special education. Teacher assistants, 34, first year tracking that. 0 bus drivers, 3 alternative vehicle drivers. That's also because we added 4 additional alternative vehicles to help transport students. Our food services, much better than we were last year at this time, 78 compared to 120 last year. And we're pretty flat with custodians, crossing guards in a much better situation. So again, I am very proud of the work that we're doing in recruitment and the work that we're doing to retain people. And it is making a difference in the academic outcomes in this school district thus far. Finally, I want to talk about our school calendar and the legislation we worked hard to pass to provide some flexibility. Since the passage of House Bill 226, our school district has been working internally in collaboration with our employee bargaining units to implement the bill. We are currently exploring making a change in the school calendar at the end of the second marking period of this year. If implemented, the change would eliminate the 2 early dismissal days at the end of the second, third, and fourth marking periods, and instead shift to a full day for students followed by a work day for staff on which students would not attend school. We were able to do this because the legislation allows us to count minimum seat hours and not the number of school days. We believe these changes would minimize disruptions in learning and provide a consistent schedule for staff, students, and families. They would eliminate the early dismissals that so many families have complained about and we believe will improve attendance on those days because a number of our schools take a significant attendance hit. Importantly, we could also provide dedicated professional development time for our Unit 3 and Unit 4 employees. Complete details about our thinking can be found at www.aacps.org/calendar change. It's critical to understand that at this time, this is an idea we are exploring and nothing more than that. We want feedback from our families, students, and our staff. So on the page I just mentioned, you'll find a link to a survey. I'm asking everyone to take part in this because the school calendar impacts everyone. We'll take comments through October 1st, and I will then take all of that into consideration. If we want to move forward with the change, it would be my intent to provide a recommendation to this board at its October 15th meeting. The board could then vote on changes to the calendar at its November 5th meeting, well in advance of the end of the second marking period. I know I've said a lot, and I urge everyone to go to the website and read the details. This kind of flexibility is just one of the reasons that we pursued this legislation for 3 years, and I am excited to read your feedback and hear from you all. Mr. President, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. Ms. Dent?
Thank you, Dr. Bedell, for all of the words of wisdom that you'd like to implore on us. And I do want to thank you not only for that, but tonight, this is really about a person that is amongst us that has not only shown wisdom for the school district, but also have a heart that shapes so many, to include mine. I know I often joke about her being very emotional and attached, but I would be remiss if I did not say happy birthday to Miss Jackson tonight publicly.
All right, Ms. Jackson, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I'm not going to sing happy birthday to you because I know you would cry.
So maybe I will.
But I do want to sing. So if the president, if you would love to do, that's up to you.
Happy birthday. Joyeux anniversaire.
Thank you. But I just wouldn't leave tonight without saying not only happy birthday. So thank you all for indulging me.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to be moving on now to our consent items. Do I hear a motion to bundle?
Motion to a bundle.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to bundle. We have a second. We have consensus. It appears that we do. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education authorize the award of contracts under consent items numbered 6.01 through 6.08.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Pulliam?
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland? Aye. Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. McDermott?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, we're going to be moving on to some action items. 7.01, Administrative Personnel Appointments. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The superintendent recommends that the personnel listed on the attached sheets be promoted and or appointed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Pulliam?
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim? Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. McDermott?
Aye.
And Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, we're moving on to some policy revision on third reading item 7.02, our homeless students code JAC. Ms. Wilson, good evening.
Mr. President, before Ms. Wilson starts, the superintendent recommends approval of policy JAC, subject to final correction for style and format. I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. Good evening, President Silkworth, Vice President Dent, and members of the board. For the record, I'm Grace Wilson, Director of Legislation and Policy. Policy JAC, homeless students, is before you for third reading and final adoption this evening. As a reminder, the policy is being updated to reflect the federal and state law prohibitions on students being segregated based on their homeless status. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay, Not seeing any lights. Any lights? Seems to be no question. So do I hear a motion? This is third reading.
Motion to move, to approve policy, where's it go? JAC for homeless students, into adoption.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Howe?
Ms. Pulliam,
Aye.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Morgan,
Aye.
Ms. Dent,
Aye.
Dr. Tobin,
Aye.
Ms. McDermott,
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, so we move on first reading, item 7.03, promotion and retention code, was it IIB?
Thank you, Mr. Silkworth. Policy IIB, promotion and retention, is before you on first reading this evening after last being revised in 2007. This policy is being updated to account for the recent adoption of the Maryland State Board of Education Comprehensive Pre-K through 3 literacy policy. Accordingly, position statement C1, which addresses the promotion and retention of elementary school students, is being amended to require that student meets the requirements of the state's literacy policy in order to be promoted to grade 4. And I'd be happy to take any questions you have regarding policy IIB.
Ms. Dent?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to make a public comment, is that I think that there's a lot of times that we talk about policies, and we do a great job in the policy committee getting them from committee back out into the public. But what I would like for the public to do is seriously take a look at this, because as we move forward with K3, I don't want to even call them pre-K anymore. I'm going to call it K3. I think that it's very important that you take a look at the policy, you make your comments on the policy, because the policy is going to, once it's adopted, it's going to be in effect. And so it is so important that we do hear from the public. And I encourage the public in this next 30-day or 60-day period to make your necessary recommendations to the policy and take the policy as it is written and decide if that is the way you want it to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dent. Okay, seeing no more questions or no more lights, we'll be moving on to some other action items. 7.04, our 2026 legislative program. Dr. Bedell.
Mr. President, the superintendent recommends approval of the 2026 legislative program.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Howe?
Ms. Pulliam,
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim,
Aye.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Morgan,
Aye.
Ms. Dent,
Aye.
Dr. Tobin,
Aye.
Ms. McDermott,
Aye.
and Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, so we're moving on to item 7.05, our fiscal year 2027 board budget priorities. Now, we know that the Budget Committee reviewed responses received from members regarding their budget priorities for fiscal year 27. We've all taken a look at that. Dr. Tobin?
Yes. I move to move the list of FY 2027 board budget priorities as recommended by the Budget Committee forward.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Ms. Schallheim?
Yes, I have a question about item number 1. Which program amendments and which FTEs? Are we just speaking about special education?
I'll offer my take based on my understanding of the discussion. I think the proposal, the notion that the committee had was that these should be broad categories that are presented to the superintendent and his staff to have as communication from the board as they begin constructing the budget. Obviously, there is all the usual discussion, back and forth questions in the budget process as the budget comes forward. But that was the way the committee approached it, because we felt that that would be most helpful to the staff.
So again, so you're talking about just special education for item number 1?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to get that
Yeah,
clarity.
yep.
I do have a second question, or I guess more of a statement. Obviously, lots of us submitted everything. Obviously, that's not all listed here. But to bring it into daylight again, since a few of us felt the same way. Last year, we amended into the budget. It didn't go through for funding approval, monies to properly maintain our existing musical instrument inventory. This is taxpayer money already spent on musical instruments that are then subsequently MacGyvered back together by our students, some of whom are in the audience at various schools, and then money to replenish said inventory to increase access to all students as much as possible so that they can properly participate in our schools' band and orchestra programs, which start in the 3rd or 4th grade. I don't remember which.
I think it's third. Yeah.
I think strings is 3rd, band is 4th. Yes, I think you're right. And so while it's not listed on here, a few of us did want to address that again. In years past, this line item has been at least partially funded by a 4th quarter transfer, which, as we all know, is not a sustainable way to budget. It also doesn't address actual need. And so I would move to amend this list to add that item, because it's not going to go away. It's just going to get more and more profound, and the equity pieces at play here. Like, who gets to play musical instruments? Those who can afford to do so. So that's my motion. I move to amend this list to include proper funding, not in a 4th quarter transfer, for music repair and replacement.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Dr. Tobe?
I would just simply add, just to Ms. Schalheim's point, obviously there was that concern. There were a number of issues that were brought forward. And I think our attempt here was to prioritize based on what we saw the most of on the list, basically. Not to preclude anything, but to simply give the best and most fair assessment we could of what we had heard from the majority, the top things we'd heard from the most board members on. So that was our assessment of what it meant to prioritize, basically. It didn't mean to push out anything that any particular board members, whether it was 1 or 2 or 3 board members, had, because that is always a matter of discussion between board members and the superintendent, between the staff, and discussion when we get into budget discussion. I don't know if anybody else on the budget committee wishes to weigh in, but that was my understanding of how we came to our agreements.
Well, I'm on the budget committee, and I agree with Dr. Tobin. The issue brought by Ms. Schalheim certainly was an issue that was discussed, but we're talking about some priorities here, and so there we are. Is there any other discussion? Ms. Schalheim?
Yes, I just want to close in saying I think the arts and music education is a priority. It's a priority of mine. It should be a priority of all of ours. There's a mountain of research that speaks to the benefit of music education and other academic pursuits. So I'll just leave you with that.
Okay, so we do have a motion that's been seconded. No more discussion. Ms. Howe?
Ms. Schalheim moved to amend the list to include music repair and replacement. Ms. Pulliam?
Aye.
Ms. Schalheim?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland? Aye. Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
No.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. McDermott,
Aye.
and Mr. Silkworth.
Nay.
It's 6-2, motion passes.
Okay, so now we still have the amendment to for the budget priorities. That is, we have the amendment. We have a second. Is there any more discussion, Ms. Shaheen?
Yeah, I move to approve the amended list of priorities.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Howe?
Ms. Pulliam,
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim,
Aye.
Ms. McFarland. Aye. Mr. Morgan,
Aye.
Ms. Dent,
Aye.
Dr. Tobin.
Aye.
Ms. McDermott,
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, so we still have the motion. I believe the motion to move forward the amended budget, board budget priorities. Oh, okay, so we're good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So having said that, we're going to be moving on to item 7.06, our superintendent's recommended fiscal year 2027 capital budget and 6-year capital improvement plan.
Mr. President, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education adopt the FY 2027 capital budget, 6-year plan, and state capital improvement plan.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Ms. Schallheim?
I just want to thank Dr. Bedell and his broad team for the work on the capital budget, and especially for the workshop the other night, which I found very informative. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other lights? Seeing none, Ms. Howe?
Ms. Pulliam,
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim,
Aye.
Ms. McFarland. Aye. Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Ms. Dent,
Aye.
Dr. Tobin.
Aye.
Excuse me, Ms. McDermott.
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, so we're moving on to item 7.07, our superintendent's recommendation on phase 2 redistricting, proposals to take to public hearing. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I make this recommendation, I do want to remind everybody that earlier you did highlight the process as it will continue once we get through tonight. I think it's important for this community to know that this is part 2 of a full district redistricting process. And we conducted phase 1. We got through the first year of phase 1. And honestly, things could not have turned out any better in terms of many of those schools that were a part of redistricting, what those results have yielded. This is not a comfortable position for any of us to be in. I've worked in a number of school districts. I've done redistricting. It is not fun. It is very painful. And as a superintendent, I recognize that with communities where you've moved into a community because this is where I want my children to go to school, and then to be told years down the line that there's a possibility that there may have to be relocation. Again, I think it's important, especially for our students who are in here today, to understand that the reason why we are having to do redistricting in Anne Arundel County is because of the significant growth that the school district has experienced over the last several years. And it requires us to have to balance schools. There's one way of looking at redistricting, which is a bad way. I'm having to redistrict because I had to close schools because of under enrollment. Enrollment is down 2.5 percentage points nationally and continues to decline in a number of our traditional public education school districts. That is not the case here in Anne Arundel County. It is one of the most desirable and highly sought after school districts. And I think that that will continue. So that means we have to redistrict because we have to balance our schools because a number of our schools are operating well over capacity. And so we have gone through this process and we've done things significantly different than what we did in phase 1. We talk about equity. I think there was some inequities that happened in phase 1 where people didn't even have an opportunity to engage with my staff and I, which we did do 3 times in phase 2. We listened. I met with a number of people regarding their concerns. We took significant data in, and then ultimately I have to put out a recommendation to this board. It is now in the hands of the school board. And I've given the school board 2 different proposals for them to take a look at. That's what will happen tonight. Our staff will be available to provide data-driven responses as needed. It is in the hands of the school board at this point. And then from there, when the school board makes its final decision after community engagement and the process closes out, whatever that final recommendation is, I have a charge as a superintendent to implement. And I'm going to implement it with full fidelity, and we will implement it well, just as we've done in phase 1. So with that being said, Mr. President, the superintendent recommends the board move forward to public hearing the proposed phase 2 redistricting plans for the southern part of the county presented to the board on July 23rd, 2025.
Dr. Tobin.
I move forward both plans presented by Dr. Bedell to this board on July 23rd.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Pulliam,
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim,
I hate to stop the vote, but I have a procedural question to ask. Can I do that? So when are we then entertaining amendments afterwards? Got it.
No.
We're not entertaining any amendments.
No, we will.
Okay, we are. Okay, got it.
After
Aye.
this vote.
Thank you.
Ms. McFarland? Aye. Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Ms. Dent?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. McDermott?
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay. Oh, yes. Are there any amendments? Dr. Tobin.
Were we going in roll call order?
I was going by lights. Your light was the only light.
It's by roll call, that's what we decide.
Okay, well, that's going to go to Ms. Pullum.
It's not a bad thing, is it? All right, let's go. All right.
Absolutely not.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and, good evening, everyone. I just want to thank everyone. This process has definitely been one of the hardest things I've had to do and in my career or personally. When you start this process, it's a reminder, how do we best balance our seats to have better outcomes? It's all tied to the, oh, did you want to say something first?
Dr. Heiser?
Thank you. Ms. Point, I apologize for interrupting you. We would just ask Mr. President for a 5 to 10 minute break. We know that an amendment or amendments may be presented. We'd like to make sure, based on the previous vote of moving forward with Superintendent Recommendation 1 and 2, that anything presented thereafter might be aligned to that.
Yeah, we can take a brief break to deal with that. I'd like to remind the board members that remember 4 and 4. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we will take maybe a 5 to 7 minute break, and we'll be back. So. So welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the break. So at this point in time, we're going to have each of our board members, we're going to be going in roll call order. So each of our board members who has an amendment or amendments will be presenting their amendments to us at this time. And we're starting in roll call order. We're going to start with Ms. Bullock.
Thank you, Mr. Silkworth. I have 3 potential amendments I'd like to present for consideration. The first one, and before I start, I want to just thank everyone. I started saying this before. It's been a long process for all of us on the board, the thousands of emails that we've gotten, interactions. I've interacted with over almost 2,000 community members. That also includes public elected officials, stakeholders, and previous elected officials who have been through this process previously. So I just want to thank you. It has been emotional. It has been hard on every single one of us and all of you. And I'm really sorry that we're in this place, but we have to do it. And I hope that once we get through this process, we can work on mending our communities and looking to transition. First potential amendment I'd like to present for consideration is modify R1 and R2 to maintain Shadywood Circle at Crofton Elementary. In this scenario, is there a slide for that? Thank you. This the purpose for this proposed or potential amendment is looking at the R1 and R2. This will actually, there won't be any harm, and there'll be plenty of room for these folks to stay without any impact in the next 5 to 10 years. So I would like for, that's my first one. Is that right? Okay. The second potential amendment that I have that I'd like to present for consideration is modify R1 and R2 to maintain Chalk Point and Shady Oaks community at Deal. This amendment, this is based on travel and safety in this community. For anyone that's familiar with South County, it's very hard to get to various locations, and sending folks from Deal down to Shady Side sometimes can be a safety concern. It's a time issue, and there's one road in and one road out. So this will not hinder anyone, and it will not hinder the future impact of Deal Elementary School. Before we get into my third amendment, I want to make sure before I start, this one is going to be sensitive for many of you, but with all the conversations that I've had looking at current and future state, I hope that you will I hope that you know that I took into consideration every single suggestion, and I looked it up and I did my due diligence. So the next one, and we'll get into that, is modify R1 and R2 to rezone Gingerville, Poplar, Will Eleanor communities into the Annapolis cluster for elementary, middle, and high. That would be Rolling Knolls, Wiley Bates, and Annapolis High School. I want to let you know that this decision was very hard on me, this consideration. However, I want you to know how I got here. Over the past week, I was solutioning for different problems in our community and issues. One was Glen Isle, the other one was South River Colony. And as I was solutioning for them, each one I could find a way to keep the folks in there. However, what I did is started looking at future projections. And this is why this amendment is here. I will tell you right now, in the South River High School feeder, we are at 93% utilization. 93% across all 4 elementary schools. If you look at the Education Facilities Management Plan, in 2029, we will only have, and it's a projection, plus or minus 50 seats available. 50 seats across Mayo, Central Elementary, Edgewater Elementary, and Davidsonville Elementary School. That's not good. Those projections continue to go down. So it goes from 50, let me get this, hold on. It goes from 50 to 40. There we go. Goes from 50 seats in 2029 to 44 to 34 to 29, all the way to 7 in 2034. That is what this amendment is for. We have a problem, and it's just in the elementary school feeder. What does that mean? So what I did is looked at different solutions on how to solve that problem. We have another couple of issues. To the west, we have Prince George's County. Can't use that solution. To the south, we have Southern High School. That solution is hard. It's a one road in, it's a one road out. It's like Mountain Road. I drove that distance the other day. It was 47.5 seconds, 48 minutes to get to Lothian Elementary School. And that was because of the traffic on Route 2. A lot of the folks from Edgewater are coming from the Mayo Peninsula going to DC and down to Calvert County. We also have the Lothian Circle traffic. Anyone here from South County? Okay, got it. They already have enough traffic problems down there, and 45 minutes or more for one person going down in that neighborhood is a lot. And so that's that. Then I look north, we have Crofton, no room there. The last solution that I looked at was Annapolis. I know, and for me, in Annapolis, we have a sea of seats there. We have these 3 communities, they live on the side of Annapolis. There's a natural water barrier there. There is 73% utilization across each of the elementary schools, 56% roughly compared to the utilization across both of the middle schools. And so for me, this was very hard, but we need to use our resources and try to find a way to solve for this problem. Like I said, there's a lot more to this, and we're going to have more conversation, but this literally is a problem with our elementary schools in the South River High School feeder. And we have to find a way, because what I don't want is to be here in 3 more years with the hatred, the threats, the emotional turmoil that every single one of us has been through. After we start that, after the redistricting is passed, within 3 years of that, we're going to be right back. And I ask that the board members and community think about that. 3 years. We need to heal from that. In District 7, we have gone through a lot. In 2012, we had a shift where we had to move folks that had traditionally, in Riva, that traditionally went to Central Elementary School. We had to move them to Davidsonville Elementary School. It's in the newspaper. They went kicking and screaming, and it changed their way of life. Now this time, we have 9 communities that are being shifted. And so that's South River Colony, it's Davidsonville, it's communities in Riva. We can't keep repeating this cycle. If we are able to do this solution We will provide extra room in Edgewater Elementary School. We will have extra room in Central. That doesn't mean that we won't be, that'll provide that wiggle room and flexibility that we need to better grow. Davidsonville Elementary School with the recent SRCs will be at 96.96%. We also have, you have to remember, we have Mayo Elementary. It's all the way at the end of the peninsula. So we need to have that wiggle room within our elementary schools. That's Edgewater and Central Elementary School. Again, 50 seats compared to over 1,000 seats available. We have great schools. We need to utilize all of the seats. Annapolis is thriving. They want us there, right? Annapolis is thriving, but we are not going to do well as a community if we don't address this. I can't see the faces that I see and the crying, and I'm crying, we're all crying. We can't go through this in another 3 years. So that's where this consideration is, and I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pullen. We're moving on in roll call order. Ms. Shahan.
Yes, good evening. So I just have one amendment to offer, and that's to modify recommendations 1 and 2 to rezone 442, 444, and 448 North Patuxent Road to Odenton Elementary School. And I know the slide is forthcoming. Here we are. So aligning with our regulation on redistricting and about keeping communities together. I know that this has been drawn this way for quite some time. I have yet to understand why it was drawn this way, where your next door neighbor and the person across the street go to literally a different school than you do. To me, this is just correcting a mapping error. So that is literally the reason. There's really no other reason, just to correct a mapping error. All the kids on that part of the street can go to the same school as their next door neighbor and the one across the street from them. So, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Shahan. Ms. McFarland.
I have a question. Could I please find out from the team what it would look like if we kept legacy students for juniors and seniors at the affected high schools in the proposals thus far?
So your question is for juniors and we have a legacy provision already, which would include seniors.
Okay.
So is your
if
question
we added juniors into that?
Add juniors to it. Are you asking for all high schools in phase 2 or just those in?
Yes, all the ones that would be moving, that would have, be asked to move.
We don't have that information. So you'd have to give us time to get that information.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to a motion to modify R1 and R2 to include legacy for juniors and seniors. I guess to include juniors in with seniors.
So that's a motion. And do we have a second? Oh, okay, right, okay, so, okay, right, so that's going to be included in our potential amendments. Thank you, Ms. Shahan. Okay, thank you. Mr. Morgan.
I do not have any amendments, but I just want to thank the community. Like Ms. Pullum said, all of us really on this dais have been very, very active in the community, and reading as many of our emails, text messages, answering the phone as we can. And so thank the community, thank everyone, Dr. Riddell, Dr. Heiser and his team throughout this process. And I know obviously we are still, not yet there, but still want to thank everyone and continue on this amazing journey that we're all having so much fun in.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Ms. Dent.
No proposed amendments.
Dr. Tobin.
Thank you. And I add my thanks to that of my colleagues. I have an amendment to propose that concerns the Annapolis cluster. It's in 3 parts. I'm presenting it as a possible single amendment because it's all interrelated. So the first part would modify what we previously referred to as R1 and R2, the 2 proposals that the superintendent moved forward, proposed to us that we just moved forward, to move the neighborhood south of Carrollton Road out of the Georgetown East Elementary catchment into the Hillsmere Elementary catchment. And I'm going to go through all of these and then discuss a little more the full implications of all of them. And the second portion of this, if I could have the next slide, is to move the area currently that is bounded by Jackson Street out of the Eastport Elementary catchment into the Georgetown East Elementary catchment. And if I could have the third slide that talks about the results of this. So as you can see, Eastport Elementary is currently at 89%. It is a very small Title I community school. There have been concerns about space for aftercare, space for accommodating aftercare and clubs, and a number of other things. If this amendment were to proceed, it would move Eastport Elementary to 80%, a healthy enrollment that I hope would add some space. Georgetown East, which has been at 59%, and that has been of concern because obviously we aim to keep our enrollments above 60% with regard to being able to comfortably secure state funding and so on. Georgetown East would be moved to 63%. Hillsmere Elementary, which has been at 79%, would be moved to 81%. So I hope it's clear to everyone that no one who currently attends Hillsmere would be moved out. The move would happen about, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Roof, Dr. Heiser, it's approximately 40 students that would be moved out of Georgetown East, as I recall. And I believe 30 students, or the other way around, out of Eastport. So let me give some background for this. And as you can see, this would have no impact on either Annapolis Middle or Annapolis High School. Let me give some background for this. We have an overall issue in Annapolis, in the Annapolis cluster, which is we have the lowest percentage of the population in the public schools of any cluster in this county. It stands currently at about 19%. That is a problem. And that is ultimately what I'm trying to address with this possible motion, possible amendment. This idea came about because I have been hearing from the group in the first slide, which are the neighborhoods south of Carrollton, that they want to be districted into what is essentially their closer school, which is Hillsmere. I understand why. It's a 5-star school. It has a lot of advantages, but these are neighborhoods that overwhelmingly, in most cases, have no children in our public schools. And members of this community have asked me at times, why is it that in Annapolis, we don't have, in many cases, the kind of proximity catchments that other neighborhoods have? In particular, couple of members of some of these communities who grew up in Severna Park said, I grew up in Severna Park. Our elementary schools were right there in our neighborhoods. It made sense. We have, in some cases in Annapolis, these very large, odd catchments in many, many cases. And in order to understand why, we have to address some history and how we got here. If you look at the map of elementary schools in particular in Annapolis, what you will see is essentially the map of white flight. What you see are the schools that were left when this county finally desegregated schools in the 60s, long after Brown v. Board. And overwhelmingly, white families decided to leave the public schools. And so you have, on the one hand, the schools that were left. You have another problem. Essentially segregated housing in Annapolis. So I don't know if the public is aware of this, but all the public housing in this county is in the city of Annapolis. There is subsidized housing and Section 8 housing elsewhere, but all the public housing is within the city of Annapolis, which means every single student who grows up in public housing goes to one high school in this county, Annapolis High School. For that and other reasons, as I said, we have essentially de facto segregated housing in this city. That means that when we in Annapolis have proximity catchments, in other words, the kind of catchments that the people who grew up in Severna Park had, we inevitably create more segregation because of the housing. So I am well aware that by moving some of these neighborhoods adjacent to Hillsmere into the Hillsmere catchment, I am in effect reducing some of the diversity in Hillsmere. That does not make me happy. But as I've said earlier, my overarching concern is that we do not have a broad enough swath of the population in Annapolis in the public schools. That is not healthy. That makes it hard to advocate for all the public schools in Annapolis when so little of the population is in those schools. And so when I have families come to me and say, we want to go to the school closest to us, I have to take that opportunity. This was the opportunity that I saw. However, I want to make sure everyone understands our purpose here tonight is to determine what will move forward for public hearing. And I would very much like to hear from the public on this amendment, from everyone, from the people who will be moved out of Georgetown East, from the people who will be moved out of Eastport. As Ms. Pulliam said, disruption is not something we want to do without deep thought. And so I want to hear from the community. I approach this with great humility. I may have it wrong, but I'm trying here to be perfectly honest with you. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so I'm trying to take an opportunity here. I would just add, and I think, again, I think the Severna Park question that I've gotten is valuable to think about here as a contrast. Severna Park can have proximity catchments and not worry about a lack of diversity because there's not a whole lot of diversity in Severna Park. And so that's really not a question. There's a huge amount of diversity in the Annapolis cluster. It is my hope, it is my wish, it is my great prize as the parent of an Annapolis High graduate that every one of our students experience all that that diversity can bring for them. That is what will enrich them, I believe, and that is what will enrich us. But we have to start somewhere. And so I ask my colleagues' consideration to move this forward so that we can hear from the public and those most impacted and hear what their thoughts are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Tobin. Ms. McDermott.
I don't really know how I follow that up. Colleagues, I want to thank you tonight for allowing me to present 2 amendments to you. The first being centered in Odenton. So if we can see those slides, that'll be helpful. So you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. We can be patient, it's worth it. Okay. All right, this amendment would first allow the area outlined in red closest to Two Rivers Elementary to stay with Two Rivers Elementary instead of going to Piney Orchard Elementary School. Second, except for the 3 houses already moved by a previous amendment, allow the northern area of the Piney Orchard Elementary School boundaries to remain instead of going to Manorview Elementary School, MacArthur Middle School, and Meade High School. Yep. And the next slide. Third, and finally, allow the area to the north of that section to go to Seven Oaks Elementary School rather than the superintendent's recommendation of Manorview Elementary School. I believe this amendment takes a realistic approach of the timeline of Two Rivers construction, which is actually further down the line than what was initially expected, ultimately reducing the need to return students who had just gotten to the recently opened Two Rivers Elementary School back to Piney Orchard. It also reduces the amount of students required to travel to base. Although I must note those students switching to the Meade cluster will be greeted with a new state-of-the-art high school and the academic results to match. Go Mustangs. Lastly, I know that there will be concerns about overcrowding at Arundel Middle School. However, because of our community's willingness to participate in this redistricting exercise, I am certain that Arundel Middle will shoot up the list for capital improvements and will be ripe for a new wing in the very near future. I look forward to advocating strongly on behalf of the Arundel cluster for that project. Thank you. My second amendment, please. Again, colleagues, I want to thank you for allowing me to bring forth this amendment for your consideration on behalf of my district. This amendment would modify the superintendent's recommendations 1 and 2 to remove the split articulation of Nantucket Elementary and maintain the existing matriculation pattern within Crofton Cluster for elementary, middle, and high schools. As you are aware, the split articulation of Nantucket Elementary School within the Crofton cluster is the only situation proposed in both of the superintendent's recommendations in which a group of elementary school students who live within the same community will be continuously routed to 2 different feeder systems. Due to the inclusion of this scenario in both recommendations, the public wasn't given the opportunity to view and comment on AACPS's projected outcomes if, after completing their education at Nantucket, Crofton students are to continue their education through Crofton Middle and High School, rather than being redistricted to Arundel. By this dialogue not occurring, the board is ultimately hindered in its decision-making process, and the community feels unheard. Additionally, in terms of logistics, like thousands of other people who drive Route 3 every day, I do have concerns about the potential of increased transportation loads on this road and the impact that a single bus could cause in an area that is already heavily congested, with no alternative routes available to the families being redistricted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So final roll call order comes to me, and I actually have no amendments to present. So I'd like to thank all of my colleagues for presenting their potential amendments here this evening. At this time, do I have a motion?
Motion to recess.
A motion to? Oh, okay, absolutely. So she says motion to recess.
Well, I was saying motion to recess.
So we'll take 5 minutes. Okay. So folks, we're going to have another 5-minute recess, and we thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Mr. Burns.
He had sent me. Ladies and gentlemen, if we could have everyone come back in just a moment, please. Give us one more minute. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We thank everyone for your patience. Uh, So, Ms. Dent,
All right, welcome back. Mr. President, I move that the board bring forward to the public hearing as a board recommendation, all possible board members amendments to the superintendent's recommendations, option 1 and 2, for public input and consideration, recognizing that the board will welcome additional analysis and input from the superintendent's team.
okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe?
Ms. Pulliam,
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim,
Aye.
Ms. McFarland,
Aye.
Mr. Morgan,
Aye.
Ms. Dent,
Aye.
Dr. Tobin,
Aye.
Ms. McDermott,
Aye.
and Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay. So I think we need to, that concludes item 7.07. We need to be moving on to item 8.0, public comments on non-agenda items. I do not believe we have any this evening. And so I believe that's it. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion, a second one, consensus. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind everyone that our budget committee will be meeting on Monday, October 13th. That's a 12 p.m. virtual meeting. Our policy committee will be meeting on Tuesday, September 30th, 3 p.m. virtual meeting. And the next meeting of the board, general board meeting, will be Wednesday, October the 1st, a 12 p.m. meeting here in the boardroom. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us this evening. Please drive safely. Have a great night.